children, welcome to online class. I am Mrs. Ananthi, your social science teacher. Today we are going to see history, new chapter, colonialism in Asia and Africa. In this chapter, first we are going to see about colonialism of Asia. Colonialism is a process of domination involving the subjugation of one people by another. Like colonialism, imperialism also involves political and economic control over a dependent territory. The Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy differentiates the two as follows. The term colony comes from the Latin word colonus, meaning farmer. This root indicates that the practice of colonialism usually involves the transfer of population to new territory where the arrivals lived as permanent settlers while maintaining political allegiance to their country of the origin. Imperialism, on other hand, from the Latin term imperium meaning to command, draws attention to the way one country exercises power over another, whether through settlement, sovereignty, or indirect mechanism of control. In world history, no continent possessed so many colonies and justified their access to the world by means of civilizing mission as did modern Europe. Practically, the whole non-Western world was under the European power or the other for about 4 centuries until decolonialization happened after the World War II. So in this lesson, we discuss the colonialism of Southeast Asia, Africa, India by the European powers. First, the colonialization of Southeast Asia. Southeast Asia, the term Southeast Asia has only been used since the Second World War. It denotes the area that originally covered Malaya, Dutch East Indies, Burma, Siam, French Indochina and the Philippines. With the exception of Siam, that is present Thailand, which remained independent, the area was divided between the Dutch, the British and the French. Malay Peninsula. When European traders crossed the Indian Ocean at the close of the 15th century, they came from the spices of Southeast Asia. When the Portuguese conquered the great international emporium of Malacca for the King of Portugal, the empires of Srivijaya and Majapahit had split into many small states. Albuquerque, the Portuguese soldier who conquered Goa and Malacca, and his successors were interested in spice trade. Toward this end, they built a chain of fortified trading stations linked by naval power. Initially, they did not interfere with the native rulers. After the arrival of the Dutch and the English, there was a challenge to the presence of Portuguese, and the rivalry of these 3 European powers dominated the 17th century. The Dutch began their conquest of the Portuguese settlement by capturing Malacca in 1641. After establishing a base at Batavia, now Jakarta, it is called as Jakarta, in 1619, they interfered in succession dispute among the neighboring sultans. Gradually, they extended their control over Java, expelling the British from Bantam in 1682. They had already driven them out of the Spice Island after the massacre of Ambayana in 1623 and the Seishur massacre, thereby forcing the English East India Company to turn to the China trade. The Spanish established themselves beginning from their conquest of Manila, which expanded into a larger territory of Spanish East Indies. Next, the Anglo-Dutch rivalry. Penang Island had been brought to the attention of East India Company by Francis Light. In 1786, the settlement of Georgetown was founded at the northeastern tip of Penang Island. This marked the beginning of British expansion into the Malay Peninsula. In 1819, Stamford Raffles established Singapore as a key trading post for Britain in their rivalry with the Dutch. However, their rivalry cooled in 1824 when an Anglo-Dutch treaty demarcated their respective interests in Southeast Asia. By 1826, Singapore and Malacca had been linked with Penang to form the Strait Settlements. Between 1874 and 1895, there was a civil war between the remaining 5 Malay states. The British intervened and signed an agreement with each of the sultans. British residents were appointed to the court of sultan, who had to act in accordance with the advice given by the residents. In 1896, 4 of the states were formed into the Federated Malay States. In 1900, there were the Strait Settlements, the 4 Federated Malay States and Johor. The population was about 1 million, of whom half were Malay and the remainder were Chinese. Most of the merchants, planters and workers in the port and big plantation were Chinese. Economically, Malay was prosperous. Next, Indonesia in East Asia. The Dutch had occupied Java and Sumatra as early as 1640, but they conquered the other outer island of East India only in the second half of 19th century, expecting the British possession of North Borneo, Brunei and Sarawak. Initially, the Dutch were not interested in politics but focused on exploiting Indonesia ruthlessly. But from the beginning of the 20th century, they adopted measures for social and economic advance of the people they governed. Most Indonesians were fishermen and small peasants and worked on European sugar, tobacco, tea, coffee plantations. Heavy investments in these plantations and other concerns and the discovery of oil in 1900 made Indonesia a valuable colony for the Dutch. Next, the Burma. The British conquered Burma after fighting 3 wars. Burma remained a part of India from 1886 to 1937. Burma was administered by the Lieutenant Governor with the assistance of a nominated legislative council. Burma teak was shipped overseas. In addition, Burma, with its fertility of soil, became a big exporter of rice, and most of the South India was dependent on Burmese rice. During World War II, when Burma fell to the Japanese, South India experienced acute scarcity of rice, leading to a famine. Next, Indochina. The French conquered Indochina after a strong resistance from the people. Starting in 1858, they brought the Indo-Chinese Union under their control by 1887. Indochina consists of Annam, Tonkin, Cambodia, and Cochin China. Laos was added 6 years later. Of them, only Cochin China was directly under French control, that is, as a French colony. The remaining 4 were protectorates. Under this system, the local ruler remained, but they governed under the instruction of French residents. Hanoi was the capital of French government. Rice, rubber, and wheat were the main exports. Laos remained undeveloped. Next, the Philippines. Spain ruled the Philippines for over 300 years, imposing its language, culture, and religion. Consequently, the population became predominantly Roman Catholic. Nationalism developed among the Filipinos during the later part of 19th century. There were 2 serious revolts in 1872 and 1896, which were crushed by the Spanish colonial government. In 1898, however, Spain was defeated by the United States in a war over Cuba, and as a result, Philippines became an American colony. Siam, present name is Thailand. Thailand was spread the experience of foreign rule. Through it, too, was greatly affected by the power politics of the Western powers. The administrative reforms of the late 19th century, continuing up till around 1910, imposed a westernized form of government on the country's partially independent cities called Yunnan. Western powers, however, continued to interfere in its internal and external affairs. Children, the Southeast Asia was colonized by French, British, Spain, Portuguese, Dutch, and other European in the 17th century. That's all for today's class. Thank you, children.